Welcome, welcome to the World Wheel, Global Peace Through the Arts. And I am so happy today because my very dearest friend, Dominique Mazeaud, is here, who is a wonderful artist, activist, spiritual person who will have much to say for this moment in our history, in our lives, with a new president and all that's going on in the world. I feel that her energy is what we're needing right now. And so, Dominique, how would you describe your work?
Well, it started with performance. It started from a very powerful experience I had by the Rio Grande, where I really felt so deeply the pollution, all the things that were affecting the earth in terms of the environment and so forth. And literally my heart broke, and out of that brokenness came the idea of doing this performance, for which I ended up doing for 7 years every month, called The Great Cleansing of the Rio Grande. And that's how I started. You see, for me, it was not being a child who knew she was an artist, as many people I know, they know from the very beginning. For me, it was more like something that, the earth said, it felt, now you speak as an artist, you know. So I began this ritual performance because for me, since I'm on a spiritual path, ritual is, is really a dimension of the spiritual path. So, even though on some level it could be considered what I was doing not so ritualistic, but it's the intention that you bring to what you do. So that's how I began. And then, one thing led to another. I had no plan. And this critic who I had met a couple of years before, I had written to her because I thought she was on the spirit. She was looking for something that felt like maybe it was a spiritual dimension of art. Mm-hmm. And so I contacted her, and it turned out not about my work, just sharing what I was doing, because what I was doing before I had the experience by the Rio Grande in 79, which was 7 years earlier, I had an experience through which, sort of a visionary experience, through which I knew that now I was going to find the spiritual in art in our time. And that was, my quest. I didn't really know exactly, but I trusted this like I had not trusted anything in my life before. So I mentioned to her this project that I started, and it felt like she'd been looking for another dimension of art. I don't know if she called it spiritual, but so she started writing about my work, and it's sort of one. And before I knew it, I mean, I wasn't promoting anything, but it just, her writing about this river project, the Great Cleansing of the Rio Grande, kind of put me on the map. So people, asked me to be in a show where I was a beginner. And, one thing led to another, to more performances, and always with a dimension of, participation and compassion and things like that. But, and then eventually I did some installation always. Well, actually, pretty pretty quickly because I found, for example, heart-shaped rocks because I felt rivers were very much talking about, the heart. And so I did installations with that, with heart-shaped rocks, and then it sort of progressed.
Well, I want to hear what you're doing right now, and I know I went to one of your installation performance, you'll have to describe it yourself, for Earth Day, and it was so beautiful. Would you describe that?
Well, yes, and it was called Tears of the World, which is a performance I've done since 2001, I think. And because, for me, being born in France during the war, the Second World War is something I just can't, violence of any kind, and war, it's really a very difficult thing. So I started with Iraq in 2001 and so forth, and did for Ukraine 2 years ago. And this year, I was focusing on the children of the world because so many children are being killed, and it's called Tears of the World, and actually I have a bowl filled with water representing the tears of the world, and more and this year especially I asked people to hold the tears, the bowl of tears, as a kind of connection with that and a prayer. I mean, it's not that I necessarily tell people what to do, but they feel the energy. I have a sign and which tells people exactly what I'm doing, to love the beauty of the earth, and also grieve the what's happening. And so it's it's to establish, to open people's hearts, because I feel for me, opening and breaking my heart opened a lot of creativity.
Yes.
And so, to my great surprise, but that's my experience.
Yes. Well, it was so beautiful, and I loved these little shoes of baby shoes that Dominique had a scarf, and she had all these shoes from babies that were just so beautiful, and then this little Madonna of a child right on your heart. It was very touching, very touching. Well, just thank you for just sharing all that with us. And now, as I always love to do, is just to draw us into a few moments of silence. The world is in such chaos, and I think it's important that we all are able to find the place of stillness inside, in the midst of all this confusion that's going on. And so I welcome you into these moments of silence. Om Bhurabhavaswaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhyo Yonat Prachodayat. Om Bhurabhavaswaha tat savitur varenium, Vargo devasya dhimahi, Dio hyonat prachodayat, Om Bhurvavaswaha tat savitur varenium, Vargo devasya dhimahi, Dio hyonat prachodayat. Om Shanti, 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 peace, peace. May we know our source, who we really are, and live with that consciousness, walking on this planet, knowing our togetherness with all life. So we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you, Vijali, very much.
I'm so glad to share Dominique with you. Bye.